Proverbs chapter 1. The purpose of the Proverbs is to give wisdom to the simple, knowledge to the wise, and discretion to the young. Wisdom cries aloud to those not yet wise, calling them to understand counsel, accept correction, and gain wise instruction regarding righteousness, justice, and equity. Foolishness is also portrayed as calling to those who lack understanding, endeavoring to turn them from the words of wisdom. The beginning of wisdom is to fear the Lord and obey His commands. Proverbs chapter 2 encourages the reader to treasure wisdom and discernment found in God's commands. If one seeks the Lord and cries out for insight, they will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Wisdom will then protect and deliver from evil men who speak perverse things and those who forsake upright paths to walk in dark ways. Through wisdom comes safety and escape from harm for those who walk in righteousness. Proverbs chapter 3 exhorts the reader to trust in the Lord with all their heart and not lean on their own understanding. If one honors the Lord by offering Him the first fruits of all their gain, their barns will be filled with plenty, and their vats will overflow with new wine. Wisdom is portrayed as a tree of life to those who embrace her, and happiness to those who hold her fast. The Lord disciplines those He loves, as a father. Discretion will watch over you, understanding will keep you. Proverbs chapter 4 encourages the reader to gain wisdom and understanding, and above all cherish discernment. If they embrace these things, they will find favor with God and man. The reader is instructed to not forsake wisdom, and she will protect them. The way of the wicked is like darkness, but the path of the just grows brighter. Hold fast to instruction and do not let go. Keep her, for she is your life. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. The Lord will guide your steps and strengthen your way as you walk in His wisdom. Proverbs chapter 5 warns against the flattery of the adulterous woman and to rejoice in the wife of one's youth. If one drinks water from one's own cistern and runs water from one's own well, strength and honor will follow. The reader is encouraged to let their fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of their youth. Her love is more precious than jewels. Her favor is better than silver and gold. Her ways are pleasant, and all her paths are peaceful. In keeping God's commands, there is a great reward. Proverbs chapter 6 warns against becoming surety for a stranger's debt or shaking hands in pledge for another. It cautions against laziness and encourages diligence, citing the ant as an example. The reader is instructed not to desire another man's wife or be enticed by her flattery. Wickedness is something God hates, along with a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet swift to run into mischief, a false witness who utters lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Proverbs chapter 7 warns of the flattering words of an adulterous woman and her subtle invitations to sin. Her feet do not remain at home. She is now in the streets and lies in wait at every corner. But the wise man will listen to wisdom's call above the temptations of foolishness. With all vigilance guard your heart, for she lurks to take precious lives. Treasure the Lord's instructions as your highest priority, guarding them as the most precious part of you. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. Proverbs chapter 8 personifies wisdom as a woman who calls out to mankind, standing at the crossroads and gates leading to the city. Wisdom has been established from everlasting, from the beginning, before the earth existed. Kings reign for righteousness when they rule by wisdom's principles and counsel. Wisdom is portrayed as having been present with God at the creation of the world and the establishment of the heavens. Those who find wisdom find life and receive favor from the Lord. Proverbs chapter 9 continues the personification of wisdom, describing how she has built her house and set her table with offerings of life and peace. But foolishness also cries out and knows nothing. sitting at the door of her house and inviting those who pass by on their way to death. The man who heeds instruction gains understanding, and the one who listens to counselors shows that he is wise and will prosper. Wisdom has prepared a feast, while foolishness offers nothing of substance. Proverbs chapter 10. This chapter contains short proverbs contrasting the righteous and the wicked. The Lord does not let the righteous soul go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. He who winks the eye causes trouble, but a prating fool will fall. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The proverbs in this chapter highlight the blessings that come from wisdom and righteousness, including wealth, honor, and a long life. In contrast, the way of the wicked leads to ruin, as their own foolishness ensnares and destroys them. Proverbs chapter 11 summarizes the contrast between righteousness and wickedness. It tells us that the Lord detests dishonest business dealings but is pleased with those whose transactions are fair. The chapter also warns that righteousness delivers from death, while sin ensnares and destroys. Finally, it notes that wisdom helps a city prosper through wise leadership, but the speech of the wicked tears it down. This chapter highlights the importance of integrity, truth, and justice in our dealings with one another. Proverbs chapter 12. This chapter contains short proverbs contrasting the righteous and the wicked. It highlights that the Lord will not sustain the life of anyone who devises destructive plans, but he will uphold those who are blameless in their ways. While the wicked eagerly seek ill-gotten gain, the root of the righteous yields fruit. One who heeds counsel is on the path of wisdom, but a wayward fool despises advice. Throughout, the chapter underscores the blessings of wisdom and righteousness over against the ruin that comes from foolishness and wickedness. Proverbs chapter 13. This chapter continues with short proverbs contrasting the wise and foolish. It highlights that the teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, turning one from the snares of death. But those whose footsteps follow righteousness will be satisfied with sustenance, unlike the evildoers left lacking. And the principles of the prudent are like a bubbling brook, guiding you away from death's traps. Throughout, discerning guidance leads to favor, while foolishness often results in trouble. Proverbs chapter 14. This chapter continues contrasting the wise and foolish through short sayings. It highlights that where there is no guidance, a person falls, but with an abundance of counselors, there is victory. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. Throughout, we see that wisdom brings blessings through righteous living, careful planning, and truthfulness, while folly leads to ruin through foolish actions and deception. May the Lord grant us understanding hearts. Proverbs chapter 15. This chapter presents further contrast between the wise and foolish through brief sayings. It emphasizes that a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The way of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but he loves him who pursues righteousness. It would be better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. Throughout, we see that wisdom brings peace through gracious words and righteous living, while foolishness leads to strife through harshness and wickedness. Proverbs chapter 16. This chapter continues to present contrast between the wise and foolish. It highlights that we can make our own plans, but the Lord establishes our steps. It is better to be lowly in spirit with the poor than to divide the spoil with the proud. Whoever gives an answer before listening, that is his foolishness and shame. Throughout, we see that humility, obedience to God, and discretion are better than pride or rushing into situations without counsel. May the Lord grant us hearts that trust in Him fully rather than relying on our own understanding. Proverbs chapter 17. This chapter continues offering short sayings of wisdom and foolishness. It emphasizes that a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. It is better to be a poor man walking in his integrity than a man who is perverse in speech and is a fool. Even a child makes himself known by whether his work is pure and whether it is right. Throughout, we see the importance of faithful relationships, integrity, and responsible conduct over perverseness and foolishness. May the Lord grant us discerning hearts to embrace wisdom. Proverbs chapter 18. This chapter presents further contrast between the wise and foolish through brief sayings. It highlights that the first to plead his cause seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous man runs into it and is safe. A man who has friends must himself be friendly, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Throughout, we see that wisdom brings blessings through humility, discretion, and faithful relationships, while foolishness leads to ruin through arrogance, recklessness, and discord. Proverbs chapter 19. This chapter continues to offer contrast between righteousness and wickedness. It emphasizes that a poor man who walks with integrity is better than one who is perverse in speech and is a fool. All the brothers of a poor man hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He who gets wisdom loves his own soul. He who keeps understanding will find good. Throughout, we see that integrity, humility, and discretion lead to blessing, while wickedness and foolishness result in ruin. May the Lord incline our hearts to embrace his wisdom and shun foolishness. Proverbs chapter 20. This chapter presents further contrast between the wise and foolish through brief sayings. It highlights that wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by them is not wise. The glory of young men is their strength, and the splendor of old men is their gray hair. Even a child is known by his acts and whether his conduct is pure and right. Throughout, we see that self-control, honor, integrity, and righteousness lead to blessing, while excess, foolishness, and wickedness result in ruin. May the Lord grant us discerning hearts to walk in wisdom. Proverbs chapter 21. This chapter continues offering contrast between righteousness and wickedness through short sayings. It emphasizes that the king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will. Better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Throughout, we are reminded that the Lord is sovereign over all, and that wisdom, integrity, and diligence in his name lead to blessing, while foolishness, wickedness, and strife result in ruin. Proverbs chapter 22. This chapter presents further wisdom sayings contrasting righteousness and wickedness. It emphasizes that a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. The rich and the poor have this in common. The Lord is the maker of them all. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Throughout, we see that integrity, humility, and faithfulness to God's instruction lead to blessing, while pride, wickedness, and rebellion result in ruin. May the Lord grant us understanding to embrace his wisdom. Proverbs chapter 23. This chapter continues offering wisdom sayings about various topics. It cautions not to envy sinners, for the evil man has no future hopes, and the lamp of the wicked will be put out. Buy truth, and do not sell it wisdom and instruction and understanding. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. Throughout, we see that contentment, truthfulness, discretion, and faithfulness are better than envy, excess, or foolishness. May the Lord grant us understanding hearts to walk in his ways. Proverbs chapter 24. This chapter presents further wisdom sayings for daily living. It emphasizes that with guidance we wage war, and victory belongs to those who receive counsel. Do not envy the wicked. Remember that their future is hopeless, and their lamp will be snuffed out. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Throughout, we are reminded that wisdom, discretion, perseverance, and obedience to the Lord lead to blessing, while envy, laziness, and rebellion result in ruin. May the Lord incline our hearts to walk in His ways. Proverbs chapter 25. This chapter continues offering wisdom sayings for rulers and citizens. It highlights that taking away a garment in cold weather is like vinegar to one's teeth or smoke to one's eyes. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Like snow in summer or rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Throughout, we see that wisdom, restraint, righteousness, and humility are better than foolishness, excess, or wickedness. May the Lord grant understanding to esteem His truth above all else. Proverbs chapter 26. This chapter presents further wisdom sayings about fools and their ways. It emphasizes that as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. Do not answer a fool according to his foolishness, lest you also be like him. Whoever sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Throughout, we see that discretion, humility, and righteousness are better than foolishness or pride. May the Lord grant us understanding to shun foolishness and embrace His wise instruction. Proverbs chapter 27. This chapter continues offering wisdom sayings for daily living. It highlights that a man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face is changed. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. As in water face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects man. Throughout, we see that discretion, accountability, and humility lead to blessing, while foolishness, pride, and lack of counsel result in ruin. May the Lord incline our hearts to receive correction and walk in His ways. Proverbs chapter 28. This chapter presents further contrast between righteousness and wickedness. It emphasizes that the wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. By the blessing of the upright a city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wicked it is overthrown. Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Throughout, we see that wisdom, humility, and obedience to God lead to blessing, while pride, wickedness, and hypocrisy result in ruin. Proverbs chapter 29. This chapter continues offering wisdom sayings for rulers and citizens. It emphasizes that a man who hardens his neck after much reproof will suddenly be broken beyond healing. By justice, a king builds up the land, but he who exacts gifts tears it down. Whoever closes his ear to the cry of the poor will himself call out and not be answered. Throughout, we see that humility, justice, mercy, and submission to God lead to blessing, while pride, oppression, and lack of care for the vulnerable result in ruin. May the Lord grant rulers' hearts to shepherd their people well. Proverbs chapter 30. This chapter presents the wise sayings of Agur. It emphasizes that every word of God proves true. He is a shield to those who take refuge in Him. Do not add to His words, lest He rebuke you and you be found a liar. There are 4 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say, enough. Sheol, the barren womb, the earth ever thirsty for more, and the fire that consumes all things. Throughout, we see that humility, contentment, and trust in God's perfect word are better than pride, greed, or adding to what He has said. May the Lord incline our hearts to obey and find refuge in Him alone. Proverbs chapter 31. This chapter presents the wise sayings of King Lemuel's mother. It emphasizes that charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her worth is far above jewels. Throughout, we see that a virtuous wife who manages her household well, works with willing hands, and opens her mouth with wisdom brings joy to her husband and honor to God. May the Lord grant all women hearts to embrace His wisdom and instruction. The Book of Proverbs, chapters 1 through 31. Thank you for taking the time to listen to these chapters of Proverbs. May the wisdom and instructions found therein lead you into a deeper relationship with God and our Savior, Jesus Christ. I hope you will continue your spiritual journey.